Good morning. This is Robert Goodman here on Positive Strokes, Staying Clean. I'm so happy that you're a part of my recovery, and I'm so happy that you're here, that we can have a moment about recovery. And, you know, I want to share something with you. Now, let me get this straight here. All right, I want to get something straight with you. You know, in my active addiction, in me dealing with the pain of addiction, uh, caused me to live a certain way. It caused me to detach from human connection a lot of times because of the chaos and the drama that comes with the getting and using. I had to protect my stash. I had to protect my drugs because they were very important to me. So would have to detach sometimes from people because the people that I associate had the same type of desire that I had. They wanted more, they wanted to stay high, and they want to continue to get high by any means necessary. That meant that the people that I was associating with were not my friends. They were just somebody that needed the same thing that I needed and was willing to do whatever they needed to do to get it. So my addiction detached myself from the real world and created my own world, my own way of looking at things and expressing myself. I want to give you some feedback and some information about the time when, one of the times when I was in jail. And I was there, and I think I was there about a year in state penitentiary. And some of the guys in there, they had some drugs. I really don't remember what kind of drugs they had, but they had some drugs. And surprisingly, they offered me some free of charge. Now in jail, nothing's for free. But due to the fact that we was a group of guys that always hung together, we've done a lot of things together in prison to keep our sanity and to keep ourselves and our minds busy. We looked out for each other. And I proceeded to get high in prison. I will never do that shit again. Never do that again. I was high as a kite in jail. The bars and everything else was coming at me. I was paranoid because of the correction officers looked like police, and I thought I was going to be arrested, and I was all over the map, and I didn't know, man, I was tripping like crazy. I said, I'm not taking myself through this trip no more. That was one of the first times in my life that I made a decision not to get high in prison. I realized that in prison, you better keep your head clear. you better exercise and be ready to go to war. You better be ready to do whatever it takes to keep yourself able to walk out of the prison gates on your 2 feet. Because prison life has nothing to do with regular life. There was a code at that particular time when I was in prison. Makes me think about another time I got out of prison and I said, yeah, I hadn't been high for, I believe I was doing a violation. And I was there for 6 months. And in California, when you do a violation in California, 6 months, you get $200. So I got on the bus with the $200 gate money. And my first stop was where I know they were selling. And I proceeded to get high. And then I was right back where I was once again. And the thing I had to understand is that I was doing the same behavior, expecting different results. The reason why I got high after them 6 months of parole violation is because I felt I owe it to myself. I just got out of prison. I need to enjoy myself. I need to have a good time. And one thing I know that I can have a good time with is if I take me a full pull. What I did not realize is that I was in the grips of a progressive illness, which was addiction. And what kept me in my active addiction longer, one of the reasons was when I was labeled as an addict, when I believed I was an addict, when people told me I was scum of the earth, and I heard it numerous times, when I was homeless, people didn't want me to go in their business just to use the bathroom, called me all kinds of names. No matter how I was dressed, I mean, I was clean, shaved, cologne on, and my bags. But they knew I was homeless because I had bags with me at all times. And I still was treated like the scum of the earth. And when you constantly are labeled like this, you start to believe what people tell you you are. That's painful. When you don't get no breaks. I remember I was at Starbucks off of Camelback in Phoenix, Arizona. And I believe it was Friday. I'm pretty sure it was on a Friday. I had got my pay for Friday, and I came directly to Starbucks, and then I went to Fry's and I got me some chicken and some macaroni and cheese. I would get the specials that they cook. and I would get me a plate, and I would bring it back to the Starbucks, and I would buy one of the Starbucks drinks, and I would sit there, set me a movie up on my phone, because I had two phones, and I would set my movie up, and I would watch me a movie, have my earplugs in, and I'm eating and enjoying. And then the pain of loneliness hits in. When I'm looking in Starbucks where there are couples, men and women, with their loved ones, and they're holding hands and being treated like family, tears started to come down my eyes, and I said, why? Why can't I have that? Why am I hated so much by friends? Why am I hated so much by strangers that don't even know me? Why? And I realized that my addiction detached me from people. And my desire to be attached to people, I would use so I can be attached to some people. And the people that I was being attached to was other people that are addicts, which kept me in a progressive illness, not changing my behavior, but staying in the situation that I am, expecting different results. So, what am I trying to say? The point I'm trying to make today is that how we view ourselves and the lifestyle that we have determines if we will get recovery or not. Recovery says I must change people, places, and things. Why? Because the people that I associate with are addicts. They want to get high. They do it, get high at any time by all means necessary. By any means necessary, they will get high. They will sell their mama, their daughter, their sister, their brother. They don't care. They got to have that drug. So I can't get better if I'm associating with the people that is like me in active addiction. When I got sick and tired of being in that way, being called scum of the earth, being homeless, people looking at you all sideways. And here's the interesting thing. This is real interesting. When I was saving my money, being homeless, sleeping on the light rail, I still ate at the Olive Garden. I still ate at BJ's. I still lived good. I was just homeless. I saved all the money that I could possibly get. And then one situation took my money, took my freedom, and I was back into the system, county jail. I share that with you to let you know that it didn't matter where I was. It didn't matter. One situation destroyed everything that I worked for 18 months. I finally realized that I had to change my behavior with people, places, and things. I have to not allow people to label me and make me feel other than who I am. Not only that I was dealing with my past trauma and pain that I never identified with, or not let it go and give it to a power greater than myself, it was living rent free in my head. And then you be calling a dope fiend, a bum, homeless. No, you can't use my bathroom. We don't need your kind of people in our restaurant. I didn't look like I was homeless. I didn't smell like I was homeless. But just because I had bags, I was labeled as a scum of the earth. How do a person overcome all these obstacles that the outside world put on people that are addicted? If you go to an employer and you put down a job and say, well, I'm a recovering addict, they don't want to hire you because they think you're going to steal everything but the sun under you. Because the world says you look like this, you act like this, and this is who you are. You'll never change. But the program of recovery said you can change. But the world says you can't. The world says we can't change them, so let's decriminalize the drugs, make it legal, and just school people how to use drugs efficiently. Does that make a bit of sense to you? Then there's statistics that saying, well, in this country, drugs are legal and they have less overdoses, they have less this and that. And what happens is it cuts down on the cartels and the crime system of making illegal money off of drugs in that state because it's all illegal. It's legal. I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about in other countries. Then you have in other countries that if you do a bit of drugs, you can spend the rest of your life in prison. Everybody looks at the problem in a different way. But the thing is that I want to stress so important is that people put the stigma on people that need help. Instead of helping, you're hurting. Instead of putting a homeless person down that has lost their way, we don't know what got them in that position. But you're going to make a sound judgment on just seeing a person in the state that they're in, and you don't even know how they got there. You don't know if it's a mental health issue that got them there. You don't know if it was a major trauma that got them there. You don't know if they lost somebody that they loved that they could not deal with. We don't know. But we label people without the facts. Just because it looks like that and it's easy to judge, we label them and we put them down. But in the rooms of recovery, they say, together we can. It's okay. We've been there. We understand. We know what you're going through. These are the things that you hear in the rooms in recovery. Why? Because mentally we've been beaten down of how bad everybody looks at us. And we feel the pain. We feel the hurt. We feel the separation. So we have to heal on the inside in order for us to get better. How do we heal? Well, the program of recovery is all in different levels. First, level, you try to get everybody from stop using. And once you stop using, then we try to get you to identify with your past and the mistakes that you've made in your active addiction. And as you go through the process and see how bad you were and the person that you really was, we carry you through this process saying, you're just like us. Well, I did this. I did this crazy stuff. No, well, and I'm going to tell you what I did. You think you did some stuff, I'm going to tell you what I did. And then all of a sudden, you feel a part of. They're just like me, bucked up, trying to find their way. They're just like me. And most importantly, the last point I want to make, you, without sin, cast the first stone. You, that is perfect, cast the first stone. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. So why do we sit and judge one another? Because we want power and control of the situation. We want you to do what we want you to do. That's why we say and we do what we do. We want to say that our way is the best way because it worked for us. But I'm here to tell you is that if you want to live your life far beyond your dreams and to enjoy life on your terms and life a truly blessing is you have to find your way. You have to understand who the fuck you are, why you do what you do, and where you're going. Because nobody knows you better than you. Nobody can help you unless you help yourself. Nobody can be a part of your life if you don't let them in. In recovery, we work on yourself and your past, and we clean the wreckage of your past. But also, what another thing we do is we connect with people. We connect. We build a family in recovery. People that go through the process of recovery. This is our net right here. This is what we have. We have this built here, which gives us the power and understanding to make ourselves better, to overcome trauma in our past, to overcome the pain that we've done to others, to own up to the stuff and stand tall. We need help because we can't stand by ourselves, because sometimes it's too painful for us to stand by ourselves. That's why the people in recovery are there. That's why you have a person that walks you through the program of recovery in the 12-step program to call you on your bullshit. Yeah, I said it. Because I realize it's not the person that lives across the street from me or down the street from me that doesn't like me that can cause me damage. Yeah, they may can cause it if I allow them to. But what's important is I am my worst enemy. Look at my past, Robert. The decisions that you make and the problems that you created. You did that by the choices you made. So recovery taught me to look at myself, that I can be my worst enemy, that I can do damage to myself, that I can hurt myself and others. So what I need to do is pay attention to myself. How can I judge another person if I'm not checking myself and my own actions? Some people spend all their time trying to express what another person should do, and their lives are in shambles. But they're going to tell you what you need to do for you that's going to work. But their lives are in shambles. It's all messed up. The program of recovery teaches me to keep the focus on myself. And if I keep the focus on myself, I make myself better. So here's what I learned with some years in recovery. I learned that Robert is his worst enemy, that he needs to pay attention to Robert at all times, because his history shows he's the one that does the damage to himself. Years of recovery taught me that I used to blame others for the actions that I did. And I understand why the program of recovery says you got to understand what part you played in the things that happened to you so you understand yourself. And I realized that a lot of times that I looked at situations, I would get angry and mad and be vengeful, and I would get even. I realized in my past, in my addiction, that I was an expert at getting even with people because I kept living the pain over and over and over and over again because I never addressed the problem. Years of recovery taught me that I detached myself from the real world and created the world of my own in my own house, in my own head, in my own head. And made me believe that this is the real world, that it should, the way it should be. But recovery taught me that I was truly off base, that I was in a destructive mode of destroying my life. Recovery taught me that in my addiction, I put myself in harm's way numerous times because I didn't like myself. I hated myself. I hated I lost family members. I hated that I didn't have a relationship with my son. I hated that I didn't see him grow up. I hated my past. I hated me. So recovery taught me that in my addiction, I was on a self-destruct mission to destroy and kill myself by the abuse of cocaine, by the lifestyle that I lived. I didn't care whether I lived or died. I ran with major people in the drug community. I made a lot of money in the drug community. All that disappeared after 25 years. And the next 15 years was living hell, trying to get back to recoup, to live a life that would never come again. Addiction. When I finally understand why Robert did the things that he did and the way he looked at things and the way his mind perceived things, he learned who he was. He learned that he was a faulty person. He learned that the trauma he experienced damaged him mentally and emotionally. He understood that he didn't recover from that until he had a year in recovery. True recovery. Not recovery and then relapse, but recovery and continuous recovery. He understood that people are going to label you and people are going to talk down about you, regardless if you're an addict or not. People don't want to know the truth. They just look at the situation the way it is and draw their own conclusion and label you. Label you as a dope fiend. The reason why you're homeless because you don't want to work. You want everything handed to you. But the truth is, the saddest truth to the matter is that each human being that's homeless is going through a process of a trauma that broke their will. A trauma that broke their will, that gave up. In addiction, what breaks us is the constant feed of, you're a dope fiend, you're the scum of the earth. You better lock everything down because they're going to steal everything above you. Don't let them use your bathroom. They're going to take your toiletries. They're going to have your bathroom smelling like shit. You know the reputation they got. Don't have them in your house. And when you constantly hear this and be treated in this manner, subconsciously, you start to believe what people tell you. You start to hate yourself. So, in recovery, we must understand that we have no control over people, places, or things. People are going to judge us. They're going to talk about us. They're going to do all kinds of things to make us look bad, talk about us like dogs and stuff, to justify their actions of not helping. You know, there's so many people that are homeless, that are broken. A lot of the homeless people have mental issues. Yeah. Because the system, the government, closed a lot of the mental hospitals. This was years ago, which put these people on the streets with these issues nobody's attending to. We use people in this country as a commodity to make money for the wealthy. And when you start to cost too much, then you're a problem. You're a problem. The interesting thing that in the United States that old people are living longer was presenting the government with an issue about Social Security. It's sad where a person works 40 years, pay their taxes, take care of themselves and their family, and when they retire, they can't even eat the same food they ate when they was working because they can't afford it. We live in a society now that they're cutting your Social Security check so they can pay for your health care. Some people saying they can't afford to lose $100, $200 a month because they're barely making ends meet now. People that are retired are getting food stamps. They're saying that $6 worth of food stamps should suffice you for the day. $6 worth. What can you buy to eat all for a 24-hour period to keep you full for $6? They're letting us know that if you're old, you're useless in this country. You're not helping us. You're hurting us. Whereas in other countries, medical situations are for free, that people can get taken care of. In some countries, education is free. They invest in their people to educate them so they can bring general wealth to their country by their expertise. But in our country, it costs so much for the education. Why? Because it's only for the select few that should have this education and everybody else should not. Why is it that the technology in other countries is far advanced than the technology that we use is behind? Because our country doesn't want us to use it. They don't want us to have it. Because we believe in buying, paying a lot of money for things, but it only lasting a short time, which we're committed into a contract and a payment plan that lasts longer than the item does. This is what we face each and every day in this country. So we're already behind the eight ball. We're already behind the eight ball. So when we come out of active addiction with all these things against us, and we open our eyes to the clearness of life on life's terms, then we have the compassion to help others to make it and to live life on life's terms. Because we truly see the pain and the hell that addiction gives us. We understand that we got to be in our right minds to live in the life that we have to live in this country today. We have to pay attention to what's going on around us because things are changing. I don't need the government to tell me that the prices went up. When I go shopping, I automatically know. Why? Because what used to cost me $100 is costing me $150. I'm losing an extra 100 and something from my retirement because I'm paying for my medical. This is what we're facing. So I understand that in my recovery, just because I'm recovered doesn't exempt me from the issues and the problems of the life we live in this country. It just gives us an opportunity to make better decisions and protect our way of life. So, in closing, remember this. Don't let what people say divert you from your primary purpose of staying clean and sober. Don't let people tarnish your reputation and make you act other than yourself. They have a right to believe and act the way they want to, as long as they're not affecting you. They can preach and sing from the mountaintops all the negativity they want. That's their right. But you don't have to associate, comment, or be a part of their life. This is what you can do. By you being an example to making your life better, living life on life's terms, by you staying clean and sober, by you working the program of recovery, by you helping others in the program of recovery, just like you was helped in the program of recovery, you will exceed far beyond your dreams that you choose to go after. Your life will get totally better. They'll stay where they're at. They'll suffer where they're at. They'll constantly keep on being where they're at, crying the blues about what you've done in 1949. You know what I mean? In the past. And they'll hold on to that. Let them hold on to that. But here's the thing. You did the work in recovery to get where you're at today. You overcame your obstacles. You are strong. You're powerful. You're a recovering addict. You're a person that expresses your joy about recovery to others. So hold your head up high and don't let no one or nothing divert you from your primary purpose of staying clean and sober. Don't let people share their negativity and their attitude with you to bring you down. Allow them to be where they're at, keep them where they're at, and you keep moving forward. Don't waste your time, energy on giving them the time of day of expressing anything to them about your recovery and your life. Because it took a special person to get where you're at today. It took a special person to look at yourself and face your fears, face your past, face your trauma, face the things that you've done to others, and move forward in your recovery. You did that. You are a hero to yourself. And don't let no one or nothing tell you anything different, because you are a recovering addict. You have a great and wonderful day.